there's a day that I decide I need to like just come clean. I'm just like, this is it. Otherwise, it's gonna come out of my hands, and I'm not gonna be able to get ahead of it. The most unexpected thing happened with something like that started out with like just some white collar, maybe we'll call it, right? The story I think is difficult to tell. All I can say is like, I'm responsible for it. It's not my mom, and it's not my trauma. It's not because he stole from me or whatever, or because he mismanaged the books. It's none of that. It took me a while to come to that conclusion, but it's because I didn't take the responsibility of my own life to like figure out my own stuff, to work on it, and to be a better person. There's a day that I decide I need to like just come clean. I'm just like, this is it. Otherwise, it's gonna come out of my hands, and I'm not gonna be able to get ahead of it.
So you finally come clean.
So I finally come clean, and so many things I could have done differently here, right? Like I decided to meet with him one-on-one in the office instead of meeting with him maybe like in a public place or something. I don't know, but I meet with him in the office. I tell him like, hey, look, I stole this amount. Here's the proof that I only stole this amount. I know we're missing this, but I had nothing to do with this. And he didn't believe me. And so like we just, it just got into a back and forth, right? Where I'm just trying to convince him like, hey, this is like, I know it's a bit.
They're not dealing with an honest guy here because he in essence stole from you. Wow, it's like, we're so naive. This is why it's a best practice not to commit crime.
Look, I feel that way about him. I'm not sure. I can't say with all certainty that, it could have been just maybe some kind of incompetence or maybe some ignorance. Maybe he did something
Are
that.
you familiar with the Dunning-Kruger? You need to Google this, Dunning-Kruger effect. Or
It's like people who think that they're better, that they're like, people think that they're experts in things that they don't know a lot about.
Yes, exactly. Because if you're not an expert in a field, you lack the criteria that's needed to determine who's an expert or not. Sure. Now, where it gets really weird is that this crosses over in the same person. You can be an expert in one area, and and also the other side of it is if you're a true expert in an area, you consistently underrate what an expert you are. Because if you're an expert in the area, you know what a really elite expert is. So you know what it takes. And so, you underrate how good you are. Okay. But we're all that, and we cross over. And it turns out human beings are very bad at determining what we're good at and what we're bad at, because we don't know what we know as much as we think we do. And we certainly don't know what we don't know. And anyways, we all have blind spots in the shadow of our strengths. It's fascinating. That's what it means to be a human. So,
right. Yeah, that might be the case here, because he was, by all accounts, brilliant in a lot of ways, right? I mean, he's the one that designed this whole apparatus, right? And people loved it. So like, he obviously had something there. So like, I'm trying not to put it onto malice, what I can attribute to maybe ignorance or just a mistake. So like, I don't know. That's the truth, right? It seemed to, like, at the time, I know
but you had developed toxic ways of dealing with the hardships of life. Okay, so you had learned certain ways. So someone wrongs you, so you do not have any healthy way. You don't know how to confront them. You don't know how to bring it to the light. You don't know how to, champion for yourself. So instead, you do a typical younger kid, manipulative type thing.
You hit the nail on the head, and that's exactly what I did.
So how does that situation play out?
So like,
you don't get
in the worst way possible.
Okay.
In the worst way possible, right? Like, this is the life lesson that'll stick with me, because the most unexpected thing happened with something like that started out with like just some theft, right? Some white collar crime, maybe we'll call it, right? Like, and I'm not trying to downplay my crime, just saying you don't expect that could lead to like somebody dying. And so yeah, in the course of that, me coming clean about what I did, wanting to take responsibility for that in the best way that I knew, he didn't believe me, and we started arguing. And the argument, I'm not gonna lie, it devolved, right? Like from just a that's not true. This is what I'm telling you that this is the truth to like, straight up being insulting, right? And that's from me. Like I started insulting the guy. And he's asking me like, well, what could have happened? And I'm telling him like, man, it's probably because you're mismanaging this company, right? It's like you probably fucked this up. And I'm bringing his girlfriend into this too, or I'm telling him and kind of like changing coloring the picture a little bit and saying, she thinks you're mismanaging the company too. That's why we're having these weekly meetings, which is not true. But like, I'm trying to like at this point, I'm just trying to like insult the guy, right? I'm pretty worked up. I'm pretty angry. He's not believing me. This is not going as I planned, and I'm reacting with anger. And it all happens in a blink of an eye. But he took a swing at me, and it didn't hit. I was caught his arm. We wrestled, and eventually, like we wrestle onto his desk. He kicks me off his desk, and I'm like on the floor. My backpack is here, and I have a taser in my backpack. And in that blink second, I remember just like thinking like, it's probably better if I tase him than if I try to fight him with my fists, because in my mind, I'm thinking that's the least lethal version of this altercation. So I tase him, and as a result of that, he ended up dying.
Oh, that's tough.
And I remember, it's like that's not what you expect to happen.
Wow.
And so they don't tell you what to do. So I bought a taser. We can get into why I have a taser if you want, but like I have a taser in my backpack. They don't really tell you like what you're supposed to do. I didn't know.
Is a taser legal?
Yeah. You don't honestly you don't need. I mean, I was able to buy one right at the store. You don't need an ID or anything like that. I mean, you need an ID, but you don't.
Tasers are not meant to be lethal.
They're non-lethal. They're considered non-lethal. I mean, I didn't know. I only know now because of what happened. I didn't know all the lethal incidents that happen with tasers. Actually, in my mind, I just know from the media, right? Like it's just like a funny like, get tased. You make a funny sound, right? And then you get up again, right?
What did he actually die of? Heart failure?
Well, I mean, in the prisons, in the judicial process, in my opinion, at least, like both sides try to paint it as whatever they can, like, and there's,
Yeah.
so, they have medical experts that say it's this, and there's other medical experts that say it's that. And that's really the crux of why I was fighting my case for such a long time. And so they're claiming that it wasn't the taser, that there's some like that maybe I choked him. And our side is saying, like, our expert is saying that no, it was the taser. He had a heart condition actually. But like that's what happens in the legal process.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
there's the stories, right? And then of course they're saying that the motivation was that I'm trying to cover up theft, right? So like it's very complicated. But our expert on our side, he had a heart condition. He was tased right here, and he died as a result of that. I mean, I don't know. All I can say is the way that I look at it, the way that I can say right now is I killed him because I never addressed my trauma. And like, of course, I didn't ever expect that me not addressing my trauma, or like me being a kleptomaniac, this like kind of harmless crime could ever lead to someone dying. Now I know that that's definitely possible because it happened. And so like, that's my responsibility that I never addressed. And that's why this, however you want to say it in the legal terms and however you want to say it in the medical terms, like I killed him. Like it's my responsibility and it's my burden, right, to carry.
That's a tough one.
It's complicated because I'm not clean. I mean, I've stolen, I've done, I committed what we call fraud. I whatever you want to call it, I committed crimes, right? I'm not an innocent man, right? So yeah, it is tough, and somebody died for it, so that's why the story I think is difficult to tell. Yeah, all I can say is like I'm responsible for his death, 100%. It's not my mom, and it's not my trauma. It's not because he stole from me or whatever, or because he mismanaged the books. It's none of that. It took me a while to come to that conclusion, but it's none of that. It's because I didn't take the responsibility of my own life to like figure out my own stuff, to work on it, and to be a better person. I thought I was a good person. I wasn't, right? And that's evident now. And unfortunately, like it took this to like waking that up in me. So that's something, yeah, that's something that I'll just have to live with. And that's hopefully enough motivation to like never do anything, even remotely, close to that, and it's to continue to work on myself and take care of myself.
Well, this is the logic behind this is the logic behind what Jesus is teaching in the Sermon on the Mount. He's saying, like if you look lustfully after a woman, you've already committed adultery with her in your heart. It's like, or, if you say to your neighbor, I hate you, you speak anger and you have that hatred in your heart, you've already killed him because circumstances get beyond your control. You're playing with forces bigger than yourself. It's also the beauty of the redemption that he paid for it all. So this, so you're in jail 5 years for this.
Yeah, and of course, in the beginning, I'm like, why the heck am I here, right? Like, I'm self-defense. Somebody attacked me. I'll take the hit for the stealing, right? But like, this is BS, right? There's that attitude that comes along, that entitlement that comes along with, I think, not working on yourself. I think you can't not work on yourself and not be humble, right? Like, I think those go hand in hand. So I was very entitled, and I was like, why the heck am I here? And also, there's a lot of like, I don't belong here, right? Like these people that I'm meeting are not like me, right?
Yeah, these are the real criminals.
Right. I'm just, yeah, like it's just a misunderstanding, right? And I think I held that attitude for a bit until I really started talking to people, I think there. And I met some decent people immediately, right? And just started having conversations about life and their stories. And I'm like realizing, man, I actually have much more in common with all these people than I realized. We'd all fallen through cracks in society. We'd all just like, made mistakes and are like looking for another opportunity. We've all been like in situations where we were desperate, right? And we're in adverse conditions, right? And not that excuses anything, but like,
Well, that was one of the big things of my own journey, of playing basketball in prison. Because, I mean, I can relate to you, the younger son, brother, I can relate to you, this klepto thing, although I never got caught, and divine intervention used other things in my life to change my trajectory, but I had to go through the same soul searching process. I had to deal with my own trauma, By God's grace, the trauma was definitely not by my parents. Like, I had just such a loving, affirming thing, which you never realize what a value that is until later, Um, but then going to prison, playing basketball there, going consistently, like, one of the biggest things is like finding some of the most amazing people in there, and so wise, so gentle, so kind. And like, we had one experience where we were playing basketball, and my son came in with me, and he's like 22, 23 at the time, going through a very difficult time. He had had a full-on mental breakdown, was diagnosed with OCD, and would really, overwhelmed with compulsive thoughts of self-harm. He was doing a lot better at this time, but still in transition. So he came in, and, he had, it had been a wonderful time. He had played decent, but in his mind, he'd played horrible. And I'm sitting there talking on the other side after the game. I'm talking to another incarcerated brother and just having this wonderful conversation. And he's talking about, his faith and his wife and his child, and it's beautiful. Meanwhile, my son is having a full-on breakdown, and he's punching himself, and he's punching the fence, and I didn't even know that that's happening. And I'm just high as a kite, enjoying the moment and the time and the presence of, just that camaraderie and stuff. When I do find my son, he's got a group of inmates around him, ministering to him, speaking truth, talking to him. I'm like, this is so ironic. What you would think is one of the most dangerous, toxic environments wasn't that. It was a healthy environment where my son is very, very vulnerable. And they're just encouraging him, and building him up. I'm like, wow. Like, and it's this paradigm shift for human beings. Human beings are complex. And, and me being informed by my faith, we say, we've all missed the boat. There's none righteous. When I repent and come back to the Lord, I'm realizing, no, I am no better than anyone. One of the great heroes of the faith is David, who's an adulterer and a murderer. Moses is a murderer. Paul was a terrorist, and he's the great hero of the faith, and we believe in redemption. But then really seeing that and seeing what that meant, that was such a transformative experience for me, and just changing the way you think, and you realize these issues are complex. Human beings are complex. But out of this brokenness, we can learn. So you go through this hell, and out of the hell, you're able to change as a human being. Rock bottom.
Definitely. Yeah, sometimes I think like, what if I hadn't? Maybe something else down the line, something worse maybe would have happened. I mean, this is a pretty horrible situation, but I mean, at least I did take something away from it, and I think like to try to maybe bring it back a little bit, like when I was living my life for totally the wrong reasons a long time ago, right? I mean, I was motivated by money. That's all I cared about. Even in the tech world, right? Like a lot of the allure of that was just the lucrativeness of it, right? And I look back now, it's like, it's always so funny how like these tech companies try to like dress everything up and like say that they're saving the world. but it's all gimmicks, right? They're just trying to make a buck. And so when I came out, and I'm terrified of what I'm gonna do, like what opportunities are available. Will the tech world even accept me? Just thinking to myself, I'm like, there's no way that I shouldn't merge my past experience with technology, my current experience with all these great, wonderful people that deserve support, and create something. So that's why we started Dignify. That's why I started Dignify.
So great. This was far more emotional and deep than I had imagined. Thank you for sharing and being so open. So you go through this tech, you're a successful person, but full of yourself. Then you hit rock bottom. And after 5 years of hell, you're out now. What is you were there's a plea agreement or
Yeah. So in the beginning, I'm like, I just want to go to trial, just prove that it's self-defense and get me out of here, right? Um, the whole legal process is a bit messed up. I'm not able to go to trial for 5 years because it's just like lawyer after lawyer, the one lead. It's just the system's so clogged up. Anyway, yeah, to answer your question, eventually, I take a plea deal for it's called like a voluntary manslaughter. Voluntary manslaughter, and I at that point I'm like, even though maybe I don't agree with like the technical part of it, because if you break it down, like voluntary manslaughter includes like an intent and all that stuff or whatever. But in my mind, I'm like, it's fine because I know that this is a responsibility of mine, and like even if that's like considered a violent, serious felony or whatever in terms of the legal terms, like that's fine. I'll figure that out because I do feel like this is a burden that I have to carry. So yeah, I decided to take that deal after 5 years. There's other factors too, right? I mean, this is who wants to sit there just trying to wait for another lawyer to take this to trial. Right?
so? And you couldn't get you were locked up. You couldn't get out on bail all that time.
Yeah, and that's another thing that we want to address with some new technology too. But there is the bail system doesn't really work for people. Um, I was charged with murder, and they have this technology called Compass with one S, and it's an algorithm to assess your risk. I come out on that at the lowest risk levels, right? Between like zeros and ones, and yeah, still denied bail. Denied. I was recommended to be on own recognizance, which is like not even bail, but just like they trust you, you can go out. But yeah, bail was denied. Those are pretty heavy early court dates, right? Yeah. So yeah, I have to fight on the inside.
Wow. So it's either continuing the fight or just it can be over. Is the plea deal
Yeah.
after 5 years?
Yeah. There's a lot of factors that go into
A lot to be said with that.
100%.
Moving forward, focusing on the future, it is what it is. Even if you don't feel it's whatever, not fully accurate. The story of the Wright brothers.
I mean, I only know about the plane part of it.
They were the first ones to do controlled flight.
Yeah.
They didn't make many further breakthroughs after that because they spent the rest of their career fighting legal battles to prove they were the first.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
It's crazy, yeah. No, so it's like it's just a allegory. Well, it's a story to learn from and say, wow, maybe they would have been better off
Right.
letting someone else, not worrying about that, and just building on their technology
Sure.
rather than fight for their place and prove to everyone what they've done. So redemption out of this. Now you're taking your lived experience from the system, your skill, your knack as a data guy and as a tech guy.
Sure. I mean, I hear you say redemption, and honestly, for me, it's this startup isn't about redemption per se. My redemption is something I got to figure out on my own. That's something that I think is very personal. I still haven't figured out what that looks like.
Interesting.
Because somebody I killed somebody. So what does that look like? I don't know. But for me, it's just more of after hearing and like connecting with the folk in incarceration, like I don't think I could with my right mind do anything else but like work in the space. Just knowing how many problems there are, just knowing that people deserve a second chance, like that I was given, and I just like there's nothing else that could do it for me. And believe me,
When I said redemption, I didn't necessarily mean to say
Sure.
you or this is you found redemption. What I meant to say is God, through it, is redeeming this. That's what he's in the business of doing, you know, like finding redemption. How do you do that? You know, it doesn't come from the inside. But I'm saying that's what I meant with redemption, not to pick points, but to say that God is using all this to build something beautiful that's going to help others and it's going to make the world better, you know. And the pain, the regret, and all that, you know, that's something each of us has to work through on our own, you know, and keep moving forward. So become better people because of it, and, you know. But okay, so
you might be right, because another part of the Dignify founding story, which I think is kind of fascinating, is my co-founder's dad. I think you heard a little bit about this, but when I'm in my incarceration, my mom reaches out to her friend at church, who she's on the same choir with, whose husband is a prison chaplain. And so he starts visiting me and, like, you know, giving me spiritual guidance, right? And his son ends up being my co-founder, right? So, just, yeah, kind of funny
Soledad
story.
Prison. And now you play basketball. We're going to go down to basketball in Soledad Prison.
Yeah, okay, 100%. Yeah, just thought that was an interesting thing. I mean, there is some. I mean, I don't think I can address it now, but like there is something there that I think you're pointing out with this redemption.
So give the pitch. What's Dignify all about?
Sure. Well, my co-founder, he's spent 15 years in like AI, and you know, AI is coming out right now, and there's a lot of stuff that they're trying to do. And I think one area that AI isn't really in the forefront of is helping people. And so what we're trying to do is build an experience where this technology can help people. And we do that by providing guidance, by helping people find the resources that they need, and keeping track of their progress.
And it's specifically for people who are reentering from, they're being released from jail or prison,
right,
and reentering into society.
Right.
So this app guides them through the process.
Right. And that's the first experience that we're working on now. It's just for the individual coming out. Where do they go? What do they do? What programs are accessible? Because the space is there's a dearth of technology in the reentry and social services space altogether. And so, like, when we're talking about just a simple like resource directory, it really doesn't exist.
It's a challenge too, because the resource directories that do exist get outdated very, very quickly.
Exactly.
Probably everyone you find was already outdated by the time you find it. So bringing an AI solution to that, of AI agents that are constantly updating it.
Exactly.
We have a deeply fragmented system.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go here for this, there for that. And you need all of them. You need all of these things in a timely way. So, you know, that's why I was very excited about the value proposition of Dignify, you know.
Sure.
And if you can simplify that process, and there's lots of money we can save society.
100%. It costs a lot of money to keep somebody incarcerated.
What does it cost to keep someone incarcerated?
Well, it depends on what figures you use, but like a top line number I've heard is 130,000, but that also includes like the infrastructure that's been built for it and all that stuff. So if we're excluding some of this infrastructure, that's kind of like a one-time cost, right? It's closer to like maybe 90, 100,000, which is still a lot.
That's a huge amount.
Huge amount.
Yeah, but that's all. I mean, yeah, the high end costs might even be low end. I've heard those are also national averages. So if you think of California, you've got a nearly double it, the cost of living. And then, the one-time costs aren't necessarily one-time costs, they're occurred, right? So yeah, it's very, very expensive.
Yeah.
It's equal to like an Ivy League education for one individual to be incarcerated for 1 year.
Yeah.
And what we're getting out of that is when they return back into society, we have an 80% fail rate.
Yeah. And I love I love that you brought in the Ivy League, because like a crazy notion that I like to have is if we considered prison to be an academy. I mean, first option is no prisons at all. I'm an abolitionist. But second
No,
option,
I'm shaking my head because we've invented prisons and decided that incarceration is the solution to criminality.
Right.
But there's been societies in the past that have addressed it in other ways. And so, I'm dreaming of the like the San Quentin Museum.
yeah,
We'll go to San Quentin and there'll be a museum to mass incarceration.
or the San Quentin maybe like university, right? Where like you get free admission maybe if you. I mean, of course we can. I haven't thought about this in depth, but the concept is just basically that what people are signaling when they go into incarceration, I think, is they lack some support. And so like if we can change, like if we can take that signal and say, okay, this is somebody who needs to be supported, let's maybe give them like world-class support in terms of education, in terms of like time and tutoring. So this like prison as an academy idea, I think could at the end of that come out with,
We were kind of going that way like generations ago, and then it swung back. It was saying, wow, why do we want to give those resources to, those people? And so we pulled back, and then we went in this tough on crime, all the thing, and, mass incarceration, and then even rules that like these are really heartbreaking, of sentencing children like adults, which is, praise God, those are being changed because the brain does not fully develop until you're 25, so, and not taking into account the extenuating circumstances, the trauma and all that. So now we're swinging back, but regardless, we have to reframe the issue.
yeah,
These people are being returned into society.
yes,
That is happening.
yes,
There is no model out there that doesn't include that.
right,
Okay. Even if you go back to longer terms, they're still coming back, and they're still coming back in large numbers. Okay. What type of person do you want coming back into society? And I believe in redemption and restoration, but it also makes sense by the data. One, if you give them the right environment, the right things, a healthy community, help them, give them opportunities. The restorative justice programs are very, very good. Now, yes, people can go through there and just click the dots to say the right thing, but the right environment breaks people down. You come for wrong motives, and then you end up, you come for the food, but God, something touches you and your life changes.
yeah,
So let's make the economic argument. We need them to reintegrate. And now they don't cost society money. They are a benefit to society.
right. Now they're paying taxes, right? And yeah, I think the argument is pretty sound and pretty clear cut. I think so that tough on crime stuff that you mentioned is actually pretty interesting. And not to derail it a little bit, but I thought it was. Have you read Freakonomics?
Yes, I did.
I think you'll remember then that there was a whole thing where like a lot of people attributed like the drop of crime in some era, I forget, it was like the 90s or something, to the tough on crime like policies. Like a lot of people like, so like tough on crime happened, crime rate dropped like a little bit after that, and people were like, oh, it's because these laws work. But what data can show us, right? What the right data can show us, what the Freakonomics people did is they actually explored that question a little bit deeper, and they just found out that I think it was like the time between that was just too short. There has to be another reason or something like that. And forgive me if I'm misremembering, but the real important point here was the conclusion that they got to. It wasn't about the laws per se. It was more about it was another law that actually changed maybe 18 years ago before that drop in crime, and it was an abortion law. And basically, abortion became more legal. And we can put all that aside on whether or not abortion is good or bad, but what they found was that it really had to do with people not being born into situations that weren't ready for them. So if a really poor person who got pregnant couldn't afford to take care of this baby, if they were able to have an abortion, then that baby's never born. That baby's never born into poor circumstances. And
Yeah, I was torn about that
I'm sure.
because it's very draconian. Like, I mean, what we do know though, like, and one of my friends, Stuart Prelate, he's been on this and he's working in the space, doing amazing work. He he grew up in East Oakland, and I met him because he was working in San Quentin. He started his doctoral thesis on, studying why did East Oakland transform from this vibrant community to, this crime-infested, drug-infested community. And his initial idea was it was the young people that destroyed it. But as he got deeper, it's like, why are the young people doing it? And it's fatherlessness and the brokenness of the family. It's heartbreaking, What we need to do is, one, believe in redemption. And then, I believe redemption works. I believe the data shows it. And it makes economic sense. I believe also our ideals, basically every religious system out there is somehow believing in redemption, in different ways. This is why I certainly am attracted to Christianity, because that's what it's all about, restoring redemption. And let's prove that out, and then also go in and realize we got to strengthen our communities. We got to restore the families. We've got to create other options, create a better future. So you're using tech for good. Dignify kind of brings AI and a bit of gamification to the whole reentry journey, which I think could be a huge success. You're partnering with an amazing group called Crop.
Yeah.
And the data shows that we can go from an 80% fail rate to, a massive success rate. We know it through our basketball program. We haven't done a formal study, but the guys that are part of our basketball program who've gotten out, very, very few of them return.
Sure.
What are they getting? Well, one, it's coming from San Quentin. So it's not just the basketball, but what we see happen is healthy community. They come in and it's just powerful what happens. And everyone wants to be part of the basketball team. The peer mentorship. And you see the older guys, what I saw them doing to my son, they do to one another. And now you have a place where you're dealing with your trauma, and you're being a little bitch, and you're kicked off the team. And the older guys aren't alienating you. They're saying, hey, get over your stuff. We want you, but you got to grow up. And we watch them and we see them grow up. And now that internal transformation allows them to take advantage of all the opportunities that are in San Quentin. But the guys that have gotten out, and it's been hundreds, we can count on one hand the guys that aren't doing well. And it's community and a job opportunity. And that saves society a whole lot of money.
100%.
And it transforms lives. So I love what you're doing. So how can people find you?
Sure. You can email me personally, Danny at Dignify. It's with an I, DIGNIFI.org. Check out the website, dignify.org. Though it could use a little revamp, but
So what are you looking for? You're rolling out your product, correct? Are you rolling it out right now?
Yeah, I talked about the individual product. We also are building for the case managers, the people helping individuals to do the same kind of things, find resources and keep track of the progress and communicate, right? Just see how their people are doing and intervene when they need to and help. And we're also building tools to help supervision as well, and not to expand supervision, but to ensure that if somebody's doing well, that supervision knows about it, that your parole officer knows that you got a job, you're stable. They don't have to like
Streamline the whole process.
streamline the whole
Just make it
process.
easier. Yeah.
And then it's the end-to-end data that we're trying to track. And that's what, so we're funded by Crop. So we're indirectly funded by the state. And the state of California is really interested in this because of its potential to inform policy. I guess you were talking about, you're really into policy. And that's the ultimate goal of what we want to do, is we want to understand how the system is working so that we can fix it at a holistic level or at a systemic level. And we do that with data.
It's really cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Thanks, Ted. So such a pleasure to be here. And
Your story is very inspiring, and it's bad. It's tough. I love to see the way you're growing through it and how all this is informing how we can make the world better.
100%.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
All right. God bless you.
Thank you.